On today's episode, Eddie and Webby prove once and for all how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. This is the Eddie and Webby podcast.
Oh, hey, how's it going? This is Webby, not Eddie.
And I'm Eddie, and today is our first podcast.
Oh, yeah. Podcast numero uno.
Yep. We have really good topics we're going to be talking about today. The first one we're going to be talking about is beer. We actually have a beer that we're going to be doing a tasting of together. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about the flavors of the beer. We're going to be talking about the aromas of the beer. We're going to be talking about so many beer-related things. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a beer-tastic, if you will.
Beer-tastic. And then we're going to get into some technology-related things, technology stuff. And then we're going to talk a little bit about pickleball. Webby was recently in a pickleball tournament, and he's going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to ask him some questions, and it's going to be a real good time. I really hope at the end of this you think it was a real good goof and a good time.
Yeah, Eddie actually had to talk me into doing this podcast. I've never done a podcast before. I was a little nervous about it. Not sure if I know what to talk about to even justify doing a podcast, but here we are. We're doing it.
We're doing it. But before we get into it, we do have some extremely exciting news. This happened yesterday. It was quite a big milestone. I'm really proud of it. I feel like Webby and I should feel really proud of what we've accomplished. And do you want to share the news, Webby? I think you should.
All right. In just a few short months, we did it. We've reached 55 subscribers. Yep. I never thought this day would come. This is a dream come true. I really didn't think we would ever reach this milestone. It's pretty incredible, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Have you been on Twitter lately? Because Twitter has been blowing up about this news.
No, I haven't been on. Please share with me.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking at Twitter right now. We got a message from Oprah Winfrey Willie, and they said, the first 55 subscribers are always the hardest to get. Here's to 55 million more. So that's very nice.
Thank you, Oprah.
Yep,
for that.
Thank you. We got another one from Barack Obama. He says, "Congrats, fellas. I knew you could do it." That's very nice. I'm glad somebody thought we could do it. I sure didn't think we could do it, but we did. We got another one here from The Real Donald's Trumps. He says, "Huge news. Probably the biggest moment of 2018. Trust me, I know." That's cool.
This is definitely a huge accomplishment for me. You know, there's many moments in my life that, you know, I've been very proud of and I feel like have been kind of a turning point for me. But really getting 55 subscribers on YouTube kind of tops all of those. I mean, it's probably one of the best moments in my life. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's very difficult to think of anything in my life that was better. I mean, the birth of my children was very cool, very nice moments. But, I mean, come on, this is 55 subscribers here. How can we top that? I mean, maybe 56 or 57 subscribers or more?
Yeah.
But,
who knows?
Yeah, it was amazing, and I couldn't believe it. And thank you to all of our subscribers. Couldn't do it without you.
And we appreciate your guys' support with everything that we do. Thank you.
So now let's get on to our next topic. This is something Eddie and myself are very passionate about. Eddie is a lot more knowledgeable. Is that the right word? Knowledgeable?
It works.
He knows a lot more than I do about the topic. Why don't you tell our viewers what it is?
What we really want to do with this podcast is basically have Webby and I do a joint tasting. And we want to pick beers that obviously, me being in Florida and him being Michigan, we can both have access to. And we want to be able to taste them on the air for you guys to hear about it. Now, I don't want to toot my own horn, toot toot, but I am a BJCP recognized beer judge, which means I've taken some testing, both written and an actual real beer tasting, and had that scored and have been given the rank of recognized beer judge, which there's many ranks above that, but I am technically a beer judge, and so I want to be able to...
He's a big deal. He's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, pretty big deal. And so we're We're going to do a tasting together. We're going to talk about the beer. It's going to be awesome. I'm super excited about it. Do you want to share with everybody, Webby, the beer that we've chosen for today?
Yes, this is a beer. It's a seasonal beer from Michigan. It's a very popular beer. There's a lot of people that absolutely love it. There's a holiday that's based around this beer, but at the same time, there's also a lot of craft beer enthusiasts that hate the beer and have a lot of strong negative opinions on it. And the beer we are talking about today and what we are going to drink is Bell's Oberon.
What?
And yeah.
That's a great point you bring up. There are a lot of craft beer haters out there and craft beer snobs that don't really consider Oberon to be a very craft beer anymore.
Yes, I've heard people refer to it as the Bud Light of the craft beer world.
And I can see why. There's probably a lot of people who are maybe new into craft beer or, are typically Bud Light drinkers that would drink an Oberon. And so I can understand a little bit about that. But you got to respect this beer. I mean, it's been around since 1992. It was originally named a completely different name that had to be changed because it was in conflict with a Mexican brewery. So it's got a lot of history as well. Should we pop some bottles and pour some beers?
Let's do it.
All right.
And for anybody that is paying attention to the details of the video, the background of my video, I do have a couple mini kegs of Oberon from past years. One of them is from 2012. One of them is from 2017. And I told myself I wasn't going to get any more because I only got those two just because I like how they look and I wanted to collect them. But I got to admit, this year's design looks really nice. And if you look right there, that's what this year's design looks like. And I've got to admit, I like it a lot, and I think I'm going to pick one up just because I'm a sucker for great branding. And I really like the look of this year's mini keg.
Yeah, Belch has always done a really good job with this beer when it comes to branding. A little brief history on the beer and on the brewery before we get into the tasting part of it. So Oberon has been brewed by Belch Brewery since 1992. As I mentioned before, it was originally called Soul Sun when it first came out in 1992. However, in 1997, the Mexican brewery that makes Sol, S-O-L, which is Spanish for the sun, they actually asked Belch to change the name, which was then changed to Oberon. Bell's Brewery was started in 1985 by Larry Bell in Kalamazoo, Michigan. However, in 2003, they opened up a facility in Comstock, Michigan, which is where they do, if not all of their brewing, the vast majority of it. They do still have the Eccentric Cafe in Kalamazoo, which is where their old brewery used to be, which is a restaurant and tap room, which is awesome. Both Webby and I have been there. And Belch has a full lineup of other beers. A lot of them I'm sure you're very familiar with. My personal favorite from them, and probably one of my all-time favorite beers, is Two Hearted from Belch.
Yes, I love that one. That's definitely at the top of, towards the top of my list of favorite beers as well.
Yep. It's pretty good. So I actually have a little bit of a personal experience with Belch Brewery. I did go to college at Western Michigan University, which is in Kalamazoo, and which was really cool when, a lot of other college kids are starting to drink at 21, of course, right? When they turn 21 and they have their first beer, Bud Light, your Busch Light, Coors Light, which I'm guilty of. I definitely partook in that. But being so close to Belch Brewery and some other really good places in Kalamazoo, I was exposed to a lot of craft beer early on. And in fact, one of my roommates, his graduation party that we threw at a house that we were living in together, we actually had a keg of Oberon. So this beer definitely goes back in my past, almost 20 years at this point, which is really cool.
Nice. Great story. Great information. What do you say we drink the beer?
Why don't we just drink it then?
Cheers.
Cheers. Very tasty. If you go like this, you get even more flavor in the tongue, in the back of the tongue. Why don't we first jump into the aroma? It's always typically one of the first things you want when doing a beer tasting. You got to get your nose in there real good, warm it up a little bit, move it around. Is there anything in particular, Webby, that you are getting from this beer?
Smells a little bit like Oberon to me. Has like that has a very Oberon-ish scent to it. Well, what do you think? What would you say about it?
This is technically an American wheat beer, which it's BJCP category 6D, which is American wheat or rye beer, which means you're going to have kind of a lower, moderate, grainy wheat kind of taste to it. You will get a little bit of sweetness, a very light malty sweetness in the aroma, but nothing should be too overpowering. You definitely don't want to get a Hefeweizen type of smell like a banana-y clovey. It's just going to be a very mild aroma to it, but very pleasant as well.
Yeah, and it is tasting very good to me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge Oberon fan. I like it a lot, but I don't love it. I've never really loved the beer, and I have to be in the right mood. Like I definitely prefer it on a nice hot sunny day. It tastes very good and refreshing. Today it's tasting very good to me as well, but I definitely like the beer. I just have never been one that absolutely loves it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you too. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to it. It's a very clean, very easy drinking beer, but nothing too overpowering with it. It's definitely an appropriate appearance for an American wheat beer. You know, it has a little bit of yellowy gold to it. Now, I do have to say that I have quite a bit of sediment in my beer, and that's not... I haven't experienced that with Oberon in the past. It's been a little cloudy, but I don't know if you can see in my camera, but I'm getting a lot of sediment in there, a lot of floaters. So, you know, getting the beer from Michigan all the way down to Florida, who knows what kind of conditions it's in. Maybe it was really hot. Maybe, I don't really know, but it's definitely got some floaters going on in there.
Yeah, I held up mine to the camera as well. Mine does too. Last year's had quite a bit too. I noticed it last year. I drank the first couple right out of the bottle. The third one that I had last year, I poured out, and I was surprised at how much was floating around in there.
It's good though. It's got a good flavor to it. Typically, with an American wheat beer like this, you know, you're gonna have a little bit of that wheat flavor, which is kind of it's hard to describe a wheat beer without saying it tastes like a wheat beer. But you really have to try a wheat beer to really get an understanding of what the flavor is like. One thing I like about this beer is it does have, although it doesn't have much hoppiness to it or hop spiciness, there is some sort of spice that comes through in it, and it's hard to say exactly where that comes from. It could be from the grains that they use, but it does have a little spicy character, which I appreciate.
It does, and I do like it. And like I was saying before, I really like it on a nice hot day when I'm outside, maybe doing stuff in the yard. But it's not one that I would typically buy just to drink while hanging around in the house.
I agree with you. Now, from a mouthfeel perspective, typically American wheat beers have a medium high to high carbonation level. So you're typically going to get a lot of carbonation in these beers. And I have to say, again, I don't know what the conditions are when it was transported from Michigan to Florida, but mine has very little carbonation to it. I don't know how yours is.
I'd say moderate carbonation.
Okay.
Not really sure what I should be looking for, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just kind of the bubbly. Like, think about if you're taking a drink of like a soda pop, how there's so much carbonation that you're trying to get down. This one
definitely
feels...
nothing near the carbonation of a soda pop. A soda pop.
Sody pop.
Soda Popinski, if you know what I'm saying.
I do. Overall impressions, Webby, what do you want to share about this?
I would say it's tasting pretty good to me today. I've heard people say that they don't think it's as good as last year's batch or the year before. I don't remember. I think it's tasting good. It's definitely not my favorite of the Bell's offerings, but I do enjoy it still.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, if I buy Oberon, it tends to sit in my refrigerator for quite a long time. I think if it's a hot sunny day, I'm going to go for something more like, you know, a Founders All Day IPA, something with a little bit more hop flavor to it versus an Oberon. Although I do think it's a good beer. I do think it might be a little bit overrated, and it's probably because of their branding. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid beer.
Yeah, I would agree.
Nice.
I would agree with that. So should we chug the rest or just sip it slowly?
We should definitely slam the crap out of it. Should we try, though? Should we really try?
Oh, man, I don't know.
I feel
like craft beer typically isn't the greatest for chugging.
And I do feel like I got a bubble stuck right here already, but let's see let's give it a try.
We're going to try it?
Yeah.
All right.
You do the countdown.
Ziggy zuggy, oi, oi, oi. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, man. Wow. Well, that just happened, guys. You saw it first on Eddie and Webby. Chugging some Oberon.
That's actually my first time ever chugging an Oberon.
Whew. Oh, man.
Might be my last.
Might.
But you never know. You just never know.
You never know. That was good, though.
Yeah, I did like it.
Yeah. And guys, let us know in the comments if there is a beer out there that you would really like us to review. Maybe something obscure, something that you're just really looking for an honest opinion on. Let us know, and we are happy to give you our opinion. Honestly, when it comes to beer tasting, though, you know, even when you get really high professional level people, it all comes down to personal preference. We can tell you our opinion and what we think about it, but it's all personal preference.
Oh, for show. Faux show.
All right, so what are we going to do next? I heard that dead air is not good on a podcast, so...
oh, it's not good?
Yeah.
Okay. So we should not have dead air.
No, I heard the opposite of that is good.
Okay. I will keep that in mind for next time. But how about we talk about some technology?
I think that would be good. You have a product you want to share with us, don't you?
Yes. I actually recently did a video on how to use this product with the Nintendo Switch. It is the 8BitDo wireless adapter. And what it does is it lets you use controllers from the 8BitDo company. They make a big lineup of controllers. A lot of them are very retro looking, and it lets you use any of those controllers on the Nintendo Switch, on a PC, on a Mac, and the Raspberry Pi. But the main reason I bought the adapter was because I heard that it lets you use a PlayStation 4 controller on the Nintendo Switch. I thought that was a very cool thing to try. So I bought one, tried it, and I absolutely loved it. And it works really good. There were a couple things that were hard to figure out. That's the main reason I did the video in the first place, to show how to pair it with the PlayStation 4 controller on the Switch. But I love it. And I really love what the company is doing. They have a whole bunch of controllers that look like old school Nintendo controllers, Super Nintendo controllers, but they make them to where there's extra buttons and stuff to where you can use it on modern platforms or PC, Mac, things like that. But I'm a big fan of that company, and I really like that adapter a lot too.
Yeah, so I actually have a controller from them that looks like an old NES controller with some additional buttons on it that's wireless, and that I actually have hooked up to my Raspberry Pi to play some retro games on it. I think it's fantastic, nice. But I really don't know much about the company. Do you know anything more about them? Like, is their focus on really making a lot of these retro style gaming controllers and accessories for them?
That seems to be their main primary focus. And another thing you mentioned, old school and wireless, that makes me think of another thing that they do. They make things to where you can play the old school Nintendo and Super Nintendo with wireless controllers. They have an adapter. It plugs into the controller port of the Nintendo, and it makes it to where it then will transmit a wireless signal to one of their controllers that they make, so you can play them wirelessly on the old school systems, on the old school consoles. So it's pretty awesome what they're doing.
It's awesome. Well, I'm sure that we'll be doing a lot of other reviews on 8BitDo products. We would love to do them. So if you're listening, 8BitDo, we would love to do a lot more reviews of your products. And, we're definitely dedicated to doing more reviews of your products. So if you're listening, we're interested in doing reviews of your products. Okay.
You know what I would think would be cool is to review some more of the 8BitDo products.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool.
Yep. So
I'm surprised you didn't think of that. But.
Yeah. Maybe we should do more review of 8BitDo products. Cool.
What about you? Do you have any technology news or products you want to talk about?
I do. So I've recently gotten pretty much obsessed with cameras. It's kind of been my thing. And I really want to talk about a new product that Sony is launching. So before I begin, I'm a little bit of a Canon fanboy. I love Canon cameras. I love how they look. I love the color science behind them and the skin tones you get with almost every Canon product. I do love the quality that you can get from Canon. They are pretty good. But when it comes to coming out with a lot of new features and affordable prices, I feel like they're getting their butts kicked by Sony. And there's one product in particular that I honestly believe is going to kind of revolutionize the whole camera industry, and that is the Sony A7 III or Sony A7 Mark III, whichever you want to call it. I'm going to call it today the Sony A7 III. And if you guys haven't heard about this camera, it's pretty awesome. A couple specs on it. It has a 24 megapixel full frame sensor. So this is a full frame camera we're talking about. Has 693 autofocus points. For video, it can shoot 4K, 30 frames per second, and in 1080, it can do 120 frames per second. So it's going to give you that real buttery slow motion that we all want in some of our cinematic pieces.
I love the buttery slow motion.
Me too.
The butterier, the better.
Yep. Yeah, the more butter, the better.
The more butterier, the better.
Yes. It does record an S-Log color profile, which is good. It gives you a lot more that you can do in post-production with doing color correction. It has dual SD card slots, which is awesome. One of them is a UHS 1, while the other one is UHS 2. If there's any criticism I have of the camera, it's probably that they didn't just make 2 UHS 2 compatible slots. Oh, man. So I would have loved it if they would have made 2 UHS 2 compatible slots. But it's great. You have 2 slots now for redundancy if you always want to have a backup going, or for double the space of the cards that you have, which is awesome. And all these features are great, alone. For you to be able to get the comparable Canon camera that can do some of this stuff when it comes to video, you're talking about the 1DX Mark II. That's a $6,000 camera. So the Sony A7 III coming in at just $2,000 is going to blow every other camera out of the market, in my opinion. You know, who's going to use this camera? I think that professionals could use this camera, right? I'm envisioning myself hiring a photographer or even a videographer to be able to come and maybe shoot a party, even do a wedding. I don't think if they showed up with that camera, I would feel like they were not professional by any means. I think I would trust totally in the quality that this camera would be able to provide.
Nice.
Yes. Another thing I think is great is, Sony's not afraid to say screw you to the people that bought their A9 or the A7 III, because this camera has almost the same amount of features as those cameras do. And from a video perspective, in my opinion, even beats the A7 III while saving thousands of dollars. It's cool. A lot of other companies say, no, 4K is only for that one camera, so we're not going to put it in our new camera. And it kind of screws over the consumer a little bit. Sony's not afraid to do that, which is pretty awesome. So super excited about it. It does come April 10th. I have it on pre-order right now. I'm not part of the elite few that have gotten them sent to them to do reviews on. I have to wait for it to come to me. It's coming April 10th. And I don't know, Webby and I might actually be hanging out the next day. So we might be able to put it to use and be together when we actually get our first hands on it, which is pretty awesome.
Nice. And if any of you have any suggestions of what we should do to test the camera out, go ahead and pop them in the comment section below.
Yeah.
We just might do it. You never know.
You never know.
Only one way to find out.
Mm-hmm. So actually, on that topic, Webby, I was thinking about maybe trying to do a fan meetup next time we're together. See if we want to invite fans to come hang out, because we have 55 followers now. You never know, man. We could have 52 people showing up at wherever we're going to be next.
Speaking of showing up, my cat Jack just decided to make a little appearance here. He's going to join me for maybe the rest of the podcast.
Hey, Jack. Come here, Jack.
Here, boy.
Hey. Chop, 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 chop. Here, Jackie Jack. It's funny. I actually hear my dog banging her head against my door right now, trying to get in because she thinks I'm calling her.
Nice. So what is our next topic of the day?
Well, since you are now obsessed with pickleball and are kind of becoming the pickleball master out of the two of us, why don't you share with us your first pickleball tournament experience?
Yes. The pickleball tournament experience. It was pretty awesome. Not going to lie. It was a great time. I was extremely nervous leading up to it because I didn't think I had enough experience. I thought I was getting in over my head, and I had a lot of butterflies in the old stomach the morning of the event. But once I got there, it was totally fine, and it was a lot of fun. I ended up placing 13th out of 16 in the division I was in. So not great, but at least I didn't come in last. And I feel like a lot of my games were very close. Most of the games that I lost were only by like 1 or 2 points. I did have one shutout loss that was very heartbreaking.
Boo.
And there's I still have a lot to learn, but I can tell that I've gotten a lot better since I first started. I learned how to play less than a year ago. It was last summer. A few of my friends and I, we went and played at an outdoor court near where I live. And after that first day, I just knew right away, this is a game that I love. I became addicted immediately. And I set a goal for myself right away to try to do a tournament this year. So I did that. I got that first tournament out of the way. It didn't go great, but I had a great time. And I've actually signed up for my next tournament, which is going to be in July. It's going to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And from what I hear, it's going to be a lot tougher than the one that I've already done. So I've got my work cut out for me. I got to get better. But I've played a good amount since the tournament that I played a couple months ago. And it is... I've noticeably gotten better. I'll say that. I can tell that I've gotten better. So I just need to keep that up, and hopefully I will have what it takes to place somewhat decently in the tournament in July. And I'm hoping that Eddie here can be my partner.
We'll see. I don't know that you want me in your team, though, man. It sounds like you're actually doing pretty good without me. But I do have some questions about the tournament, if you don't mind me asking you.
Yeah. Go for it.
So you talked about the divisions, right? So how do you know which division you should sign up for?
So I had no idea because I've never been ranked. Apparently, if you do an official USAPA tournament, you get ranked beforehand so they know which division to put you in. And the rankings are 2.5, I believe, is where they start, and they go up to 5. Like the absolute best players are a 5. And I figured I was probably like maybe a 3, maybe 3.5, pushing 3.5. So I signed up. I thought I was in the 3.5 division when I got there, but it turns out I was in the 3.0 division. So there was one division below what I was in, and when I first got there, I thought maybe I should have done the beginner division since it was my first tournament ever. But I was able to keep up with the people in the 3.0 division that I was in.
Nice.
And pretty much it depends on like how many mistakes you make. Like if you don't make mistakes when you serve, then you go up to like the next level and stuff like that. And if you can dink properly, if you can lob without it going out of bounds regularly, things like that. There's a whole checklist. If you go to the USAPA website, they have a checklist on what it takes to be in each of the different divisions. So I feel like it's pretty simple to be able to tell which division you're in yourself by looking at that list. But you can also have somebody from the USAPA rank you, so you have an official ranking. So
retrospectively, you would have preferred to be in a different ranking. Is that what I understand?
So I thought the lowest was the 3.0, and I thought I was in the 3.5. So when I thought that was the case, I thought I should have been in the one below. But the fact that they were 2.5 and I was in 3.0, I feel like that's about right. There were people in the 2.5 division that I know definitely should have been in a division or possibly even 2 divisions higher. I feel like they were just trying to go for a medal. They knew they could beat the people in that division. So there were definitely some people that played in a division below what they should have.
Losers.
I feel like I was in the proper division. I just didn't do as good as I had hoped I would.
That's unfortunate, though. I mean, you want to get your ranking so that you make sure that you're evenly matched. It should be competitive, and then people are going to try and sandbag their actual, rankings. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, that was kind of weird to me, and I didn't really like that. But oh well, I guess that's pretty common. Somebody was telling me that a lot of people play in the division below what they really are. But yeah, to me, that doesn't seem right. I would prefer playing in the division that I belong in.
So talk to me about how many games or matches did you play throughout the entire tournament?
So the tournament that I did was called a round-robin tournament. So that means that you don't have a set partner, and every game was 2 versus 2 throughout the tournament. And you don't have a set partner, and every single game you play is with a different partner. So there was the first game that I played, they had 4 of us from our division go, and we would play one game. I had the partner that I played with, we played against the other 2, and then after that game ends, we would kind of like rotate. So then I would play with somebody from the other team, and then we would play one more game after that, playing with the other person that we hadn't played with yet on our team. So you play in each in each round, you play 3 games, different partner each game. And pretty much the way that they figure out the rankings and the standings are you want to get the win, obviously, but then there is also a point differential that comes into play. So if you were to lose a game, the games went to 9, you only had to win by 1. So if you lost a game, you wanted to lose 9-8. That way you still had 8 points under your belt.
Okay.
The first half of the tournament, I was doing pretty decent. And so after the first 3 rounds, I stood a chance of being in the top 4 to make it into the finals. But I had a very bad round 5 that I didn't get any wins that round. So that made it to where there was no chance of advancing to the next round.
And when it comes to your partners, right? So are you assigned a number, and is there like a board that says partner 23 is with partner 69 or something like that? Like, how does that work?
Nobody has numbers assigned. They call out your name, and then when you go up there, they give you a piece of paper, and it just showed you and the 3 other people that they called, and it just there was game 1, and it showed your name, and then somebody else's name. Game 2, your name, somebody else's name. So each game, it showed, like, you knew who you were playing with based on the piece of paper that you were given. And then after each game, you would write the score of your team, the score of the other team, and then somebody had to initial it and then turn it into the judges afterwards.
Do you feel like the judges that were calling it, whether it was inbounds or out of bounds on the line, do you think they did a pretty good job?
So actually this tournament, there were only a couple people that were watching. Not every single game had a judge or a referee, whatever you want to call them. So it was up to each person that were playing to just be honest, and we never had any problems. There was no objections to anything. Nobody argued about whether a call was good or not. Now the one that I'm going to be doing in July, that one, every single game has a dedicated referee. So that'll be my first experience with that type of scenario. So I'm very interested to see that. And I always thought it would be nice to have a referee watching, because sometimes I don't know if the ball was out or not. I'm focused on hitting the ball, and I don't see if the ball was out of bounds or not. So I know, like, whenever I play a game, there's a lot of times where I really don't know if the ball was out.
And then I've heard that a lot of these matches end up in, like, fist fights. How many fist fights did you get involved in?
At least 5 per game. There were so many fist fights. That's what pickleball is known for, is the fist fights. Yeah. But no, I'm just kidding. I've never seen any fighting other than people arguing over whether a ball was out of bounds or not. That didn't happen during any of my games during the tournament, but I've definitely seen that, like, even during casual play, where some people they are adamant that the ball was either out or in, no matter what the other people say.
Well, it sounds like it was a fun experience for you.
It was very fun. I am looking forward to the next tournament. Hopefully I get enough experience to be decent in there. The goal next time is to not be 3rd from last place.
Yeah, well, I did want to give you a medal for being 3rd from last place. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Yep. Thank you.
You weren't the worst. You weren't the 2nd worst. You weren't the 3rd worst. So that's good. You were better than 3 other people. So good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anything else you want to share about your pickleball tournament experience?
No, that's about it. Really, the only other thing I have to say about pickleball is I can't wait to play against you, because we still have not played against each other. I challenged you quite a few months ago, and I feel like you've been avoiding me.
All right. Well, if you want to get like that, then let's talk about it, because you live in a state where it's really cold and snowy and crappy. You can't play outdoors, and it's just not really an ideal environment. I personally live in a state where I have 4 courts that are 100 yards away from me, ready to play at any time. We don't have to worry about weather or any of those factors. So I really feel like it's on you that you haven't wanted to play.
I don't know about that, because we've got a lot of indoor locations here, and there's even a place that I'm pretty sure I told you about that we could reserve. You can rent the courts for pickleball. So I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a weak excuse. I mean, yes, obviously where you are is better for outdoor play, but it doesn't have to be outdoors. It could be indoors.
It could be indoors. I honestly have never played indoors, though. I don't know if it's different or not, but I'd be willing to do it.
So I learned how to play outdoors. I haven't played outdoors since I actually learned how to play decently. So everybody that I talk to says they love playing outdoors a lot more than indoors. I've actually really been liking indoor play because you don't have to deal with the elements. There have been times where the sun was excruciatingly hot, or like if you play on one side of the court, it's in your eyes the whole time. And there's been times where we played and we didn't want to stop playing, but the sun went down and there weren't lights in the outdoor courts we were at, so we had to stop playing. So I've been liking the indoor experience, but when the weather conditions are good, I could see outdoor being preferable.
Well, we will play. We promised all of our viewers that we would play against each other. I hope that we get an opportunity to play with each other before we get to play against each other as well, so that way we can, learn each other's strengths and weaknesses and prey on them.
Yes, I think we could work that out. I'm getting some friends in the pickleball world. I'm sure we could find a couple to play with and against us.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Webby. That was a good conversation around the tournament. I'm very curious because I've never been to one or seen one, and I definitely am looking forward to my first one.
Yeah, and hopefully your first one could be the one in July in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The one that I'll be at.
Grand Rapids.
At the moment, I have no partner set, so I'm going to end up with a random person if you don't join.
A rando.
So just throwing that out there.
All right, well, I'll let you know. I'll let you know for sure. Well, thank you guys all for sticking around if you've stuck around this far. We might be launching this as an official audio or actual audio video podcast on iTunes. There's just one thing we have to do, and that's figure out how to actually do it. I don't know, Webby, do you know how to do it?
Don't you just click the podcast button and then it gets uploaded to the podcast?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
you just do the upload podcast button.
Yeah.
To the podcast.com, isn't it, or whatever?
Yeah,
or is it podcast.org?
I think it's uploadpodcast.org. But who knows? We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm sure we'll figure it out. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe this will be the last one. Maybe nobody will watch this, and this will be the last one.
Yeah, maybe we'll fall flat on our face, and this is just awful content, and nobody cares, and we'll just continue with our normal lives. So. Any products that we talked about today, we'll be throwing links to in the description below, so you can go ahead and check them out. We definitely want to hear your guys' feedback, right? You're part of the Eddie and Webby family, whether you like it or not. We're a little bit dysfunctional, but we want to hear your comments, right? If there's a particular beer you want to talk about, maybe a piece of technology, or maybe you just want to tell us how much you love us or hate us, or just give us any feedback, throw it in the comments below. We would absolutely love to hear from you guys. Yep.
Yeah, I would love to hear from the viewers.
And you can follow us on Instagrams. What is it? Instagrams?
Instantgrams.
Instantgrams.com. And so go to www.instantgrams.com or Twitter, the tweeters.com. You can go there. We're both under Eddie and Webby for both Instagram and Twitter. So go ahead and follow us there as well. Anything to say, Webby, before we close this down?
Just got to say thanks to all of you that are still watching. There might be one or two of you out there still that haven't X'd out of the video. I'll be very, very, very surprised if there's more than one person out there still. But thank you. Yeah. You know who you are. Thank you very much. We love you.
Thank you to that one person. Awesome. All right, guys, that's it. I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
See ya.